Welcome to Life Empowers with Melissa Oden. Where there is life, there is hope. Where there is life, there's a place for love to grow, and love emboldens and strengthens. Where there is life, there's an opportunity to grow and be empowered. I'm living testament to that, and you are too. And if you don't yet feel like your life is testament to this, don't despair and don't stop listening to this podcast. This is exactly why I'm doing it. Thanks for joining me this week as we delve into so many life-affirming topics. Have you ever started a project and have, everything go wrong seemingly? And you know when it's happening that it's because it's just an important project, right? It just seems like the bigger the project, the greater the opportunity for the worst thing to happen, right? I know that we all experience that. Well, welcome to this podcast. Seriously. In 16 episodes now that I have done, I have never had the number of things go wrong before, definitely during, and after the podcast that have literally made me want to throw my hands up in the air and be so done with it. But you know what? I refuse to throw my hands in the air. I know that it's worth the effort every time. And the greater the difficulty, it seems like the more important the interview is. And so here we are, folks. Hear me out. This is an incredibly powerful conversation I had with a survivor who is pretty new in terms of her contact with us. She knew her story for a very long time, but like so many of us thought that she was utterly alone in that experience. The survivor that you are going to be blessed to hear from is Robin. Her name is Robin Sertell. She has an incredible background in terms of her survival experience and really the number of things she has survived and overcome in her life. She has an incredible background in ministry and healing. And in reality, she and I had this really lengthy conversation so you could get to know more about the work that she does. And honestly, that's probably where most of the glitchiness happened, in the middle of the interview taking place. So at the end of this interview, we share more about how you can read Robin's story, how you can get in touch with her. So be sure to listen in on that and touch base with Robin if you'd like to know more about what she's doing professionally. We have every belief that she is called to be a part of the work that we're doing at the Abortion Survivors Network. And honestly, please just bear with this interview. I worked really hard to edit out all of the parts that I could find that glitched out in the system, but I suspect that something may have snuck through. So if it gets glitchy, hold on for a second or two or 10, and it will get back to the interview. And, take encouragement, folks. If you are up against a major project and you feel like everything is against you, keep pressing on and do it. Right? Do it knowing that it's important for you to just keep pressing forward. I hope you enjoy this interview with my new friend, Robin. Thrilled to be joining you today with a new friend of mine. And I say friend, even though we haven't met in person. I know that we're friends. I can tell we've connected at the heart level, and I cannot wait to meet her in person. But I want to introduce you today to Robin Sertell. And I really want to give Robin the opportunity today to share her story in a world that feels so dark and difficult, especially over the last year, right? I love that there are stories of hope and redemption and God's goodness to be shared. And so, everybody, this is Robin.
Hello, everybody. I am just so honored to be here. I'm so excited, Melissa. Melissa and I have been sharing about our separate but similar journeys. And as I have shared with her, and I'm excited to share with you, I did not know that there were other abortion survivors. I am the survivor of 3 failed saline infusion attempts. I am a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And as I have shared in my past, as part of my preaching and teaching, I share a little bit of my testimony. I've had several people come up to me who are post-abortive, and I've been very honored to walk them through forgiveness, getting rid of shame, guilt, condemnation, dealing with feelings of anger and things like that. I have never had the honor of someone coming up and saying, I'm a survivor too. And so I did not know there were other survivors. I've never been a fan of television. And so under my little rock in the world, there were only Jesus and a select few very carefully vetted, safe people. And none of them ever told me there were other survivors. I didn't know. And I am so excited to meet you, Melissa. I'm excited to meet the network of survivors. And I'm excited to share my story this morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
And I'm glad you shared, right, that your story was kind of kept in a safe space, right? People have asked me so much over the years, well, Melissa, if there are all these other survivors that you mention, where are they? Where have you been? How long have you known your story?
So, where have I been? Like I said, I've been under my little safe rock with Jesus and my safe people. I have I've been mainly in the church. That's primarily where I've shared my testimonies. I've done some parachurch organizational meetings, such as GLOW meetings regionally and things like that. But really, I've stayed within the Christian community as far as my sharing. I have shared a little bit at CareNet, and we'll get back to that. I'm 46 years old. I found out that I was an abortion survivor when I was 9, although it really didn't hit home. By age 9, I had spent the better part of my childhood in and out of Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the local hospitals in South Jersey where I grew up, not understanding why I was so sick. So I didn't have one specific issue that we were consistently following. I had medical whack-a-mole. I had grand mal seizures. I had skin problems. I had digestive problems. My hair would fall out, all of it or most of it, several times. I would have head to toe rashes that were in such strange patterns. I would have several different providers come in the room and take notes and look at me skeptically, like, did you get into a bottle of bleach, kid? Or what did you take? Did you drink mom's cleansers or something? And no, sometimes it would be just, I went out in the sun. And I now have a sunburn that looks like a red and white houndstooth pattern. I didn't plan that. I didn't do anything to cause it, and they could never figure out what was going on. And they would always go off and have these little holy huddles in the hallway, and I didn't understand what that was all about. I just thought that was part of my treatment plan. So by age 9, this was just normal life for me. And I had an experience where I had a very high fever for several days. All of my hair burned off, and I had these little sticky black nubs on my scalp where the roots of my hair had been. I was packed in ice. I was in Elmer Hospital, and I was pronounced dead. I had an experience with the Lord that I didn't really understand at the time, and I just thought that was part of being sick. I was brought back to life. The medical team still didn't know what to say. And finally, my maternal grandmother, so my mother's mother, came in and said, look, you have to tell her what's going on. She's getting too old. And so she was the one who sat down with me and said, honey, I love you. We don't know what this is going to cause, but your mother tried 3 times to abort you. Well, abort wasn't a word I was familiar with. It wasn't one of my vocabulary words in school. I was very well read. I spent a lot of time reading books in the hospital and a lot of time listening to books on tape with my Sony Walkman. Sometimes those rashes, I would get these blisters that would cover my eyes. So if I couldn't read a book and see it, I would listen to it on my Walkman. And so I could tell you everything that was going on with Nancy Drew, and I would read VC Andrews and all these different ones. And my goodness, I was very familiar with that, but abort, I didn't know what that meant. So it just really went over my head. As I grew older, my mother's best friend came and confirmed that, yes, my mother had tried 3 times to abort me with saline. And I do remember briefly thinking, well, what's saline? And how do you burn somebody with saline? And we didn't really have the internet or anything. So looking things up wasn't a thing.
We're the same age range, right? I totally understand that.
Yeah, you just went on with life. You didn't have to know right now. You didn't pull out your phone. And so I didn't know. I didn't understand what that was. But people would say to me, "Gosh, you're a sickly person," or my skin was a lot of my childhood was spent with people looking at me strange. My skin was very red, and it didn't just go away. It was very pinky red. I would have these bumps, and my hair, when it was attached to my head, was very white, very thin, and like towhead blonde, but it lasted until my early 20s. So I really couldn't style my hair the way that most girls do and everything. And I always kind of felt there's something weird with me and I don't know what it is. And so in my late teens, I really acted out. We had a lot of problems at home. I had all of these feelings I had never processed about being an abortion survivor that I now was starting to realize my girlfriends were having abortions. And I didn't really know how I felt about that. And then I became pregnant. I started to have miscarriages, and my very first miscarriage was in a hospital in Rochester, New York. And the medical team came and said, "You're having a spontaneous abortion." And I came right up off of the bed and I hit the doctor. That's not me. I'm a very, very docile person. And I realized something's wrong here. I don't know what it is. So they sent me to the local pregnancy center to see if I could receive some counseling. And they thought it was just counseling for my miscarriage. But the counselor was very clear that I'm having a reaction that's disproportionate to my problem.
Right.
So that really started me on my journey of wanting to heal so that I could help others. And that's kind of been my life's message is as I want to heal so that I can help others, because hurt people, but certainly healed people heal people.
Absolutely. And you've done a lot of healing. I mean, you have a pretty significant background in healing ministry. So you mentioned a little bit about that, but that tends to be one of those major questions that people have, right? Is, okay, knowing that you spent a lot of time in the hospital as a kiddo, you felt incredibly different growing up because of being an abortion survivor and struggling with those health issues, and then identity, right? And acting out, and then multiple miscarriages. How have you gotten to this point today? So in terms of your own personal healing and, professionally, what's been your background that has gotten you to this place, Robin? Because I think for you, they're kind of combined like they have been in my life too.
Absolutely. So the two main streams of healing that I have experienced have been from the Lord himself and through counseling. And I've always chosen both because I feel like we need to be whole body, soul, and spirit. And so we need to have a counselor. We need to have someone who can help us to walk through certain things as they come up. But I am very, very, very blessed to have a wonderful relationship with the Lord. I didn't have that my whole life. I came to know him in my early 20s. And what he has done in my heart has been to help me to really understand forgiveness. and the impact that that has had. When I forgave my mother in my early 20s, my whole life changed. The burden of that unforgiveness was totally lifted, and the poison of that unforgiveness really left. My mother never was able to own her end of the problems, so there was not a full warm fuzzy reconciliation, but I was always open on my end, with good boundaries. And my mother passed away just this past fall, and I was able to go and visit her. I was able to even offer to care for her. And I even had some people who were close family friends who thought I was insane for offering. And I said, but I could be there for her with good boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman who used to be my mother's best friend during the time she was pregnant with me actually shared with me that she was very concerned. She said, I don't think you understand. Your mother tried to abort you. This woman has tried to kill you. Are you nuts? And I said, well, I don't think you fully understand. I have fully forgiven. She doesn't owe me anything. And so I can, with good boundaries, be there and be available for her. Mm-hmm. And that was just, that rocked her. But as I was sharing the words with her, I was feeling the emotion coming through me and understanding that the process of healing was still continuing, even as she was in her late stages of her disease process and getting ready to pass away. I was in stages of my healing process too. As you know, we're all inextricably woven together, and we need to deal with the things that we've gone through. And gosh, forgiveness has just been such a huge message for me. And as I've walked other people through it, I've come to realize that it's bigger than just one-on-one forgiveness. God's given us so much authority to forgive, that we can forgive for whole people groups. Mm-hmm. And all sins against him and him alone. And I really feel it's important that as abortion survivors, we fight to end abortion. We speak up with the pro-life message and let people know that we're real. We do exist. We are here. But we also have the ability to speak on behalf of the unborn and release forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
on their behalf.
I love that you talked about how, I mean, first of all, I love that you talk about having good boundaries, right? Because I think sometimes people make that mistake of thinking, oh, Melissa, you talk so much about forgiveness. You just must be a doormat. No, I am not a doormat. There are, a lot of relationships, particularly with biological family, right? Of, individuals who I am not close with, that I really don't have any communication with, but it doesn't mean that I hate them. It doesn't mean that I haven't, that I'm holding some kind of grudge or haven't forgiven them. It means I've released them and know that I cannot safely have them in my life. And that, in reality, they don't want me in their life. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm going to go out on a limb and think you can probably relate to this. Certainly, I've been in a place of a lot of introspection in the last 8 months, right? With more time at home and just dealing with the humanity of the world. But I keep thinking back to the broken me, the broken me who stuck around people who were harming me terribly, right? Emotionally, physically, spiritually. And part of me looks back on it and goes, Melissa, man, I cannot believe you allowed those people to treat you that way. But then I realized that was part of the journey that I was on, right? I was not healed and healthy enough to have the boundaries with people and the self-care about myself to say, yeah, you know what? No, you know what? I will care about you, but I will not allow you to harm me in this way, right? And absolutely. That's just, And that's the way so many people are. I'm sure so many people that you still work with in ministry, but that's kind of the path that so many of us as survivors take, right? We either build a wall and we don't let anybody in,
Right.
or we have no boundaries and we let everyone in.
Everybody. Yeah. And so I think it's so important when we talk about boundaries and we talk about forgiveness, we have to remember that the Bible tells us that forgiveness is the releasing of the debt that's owed because of a trespass. And so if I trespass on your lawn, it means I've crossed a boundary onto your property. And so in order to really understand forgiveness, we have to first understand boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't understand one, we won't understand the other.
That's such a great point. And I love too, Robin, when you're talking about the process of forgiveness, to be able to identify that your mom's passing, your ability to be there for her, was part of your continued healing process. You know, I always try to remind people that when we don't forgive, we are preventing God's grace in not only that person's life, but our own. And so if you would have remained in that state, right, of not working through that forgiveness and being open, you would have missed out on an incredible opportunity in your own journey. For those who want to find you and would love to know more about your story, can you let people know where do they find you? Where do they find you on social media, your website? What books and resources do you have available, Robin? And what's the best way to contact you?
Sure thing. So my website is the best place to find me, and that's simply robinsertell.com, ROBIN, just like the bird, S as in Sam, ERTELL.com. On there, you'll find opportunities to click on links to contact me. Best email to reach me is info@robinsertell.com. I am on Instagram, rsertellmin for Robin Sertell Ministries, as well as Facebook. You can find me at Robin Sertell Ministries on Facebook. I've published a little book called Miracles Happen in the Wilderness that shares just a brief overview of God's goodness in my life. And it's got a bit of my story in there. You can find that on Amazon. You can find it at just about any bookstore, and you can buy it right on my website too.
And it's not only a collection of some of your highlights, right, of life, but you also included some processing, some teaching and reflection in it.
Yeah, I wanted people to be able to look at it and say, okay, where am I at in my journey? And that was really in answer to all these people that have come to me over the years when I've shared my story. When they come and they want to talk to me, they want to talk because it's brought up points in their story. And so I wanted to give those reflective opportunities for people to begin their processing. And there's plenty of room to take notes and jot in it and just decide, where am I at in this, and what's God saying to me, and how can I move forward from here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And first of all, you're an excellent writer. You are.
Oh,
I
thank you.
enjoyed reading it a ton, and not just because we have so much in common, but you are a very gifted communicator. I knew that about you the first time we spoke on the phone.
Oh, thank you.
So I love that about you, but I love too that no matter what people's experience is, you know, most people won't be able to relate to us as abortion survivors. I mean, even though we're not as rare as what the world out there would tell us, the reality is, yes, we are kind of few and far between as opposed to the greater population, but there's so much that people can relate to in our lives, right?
Yeah.
So many
Yeah.
takeaways for people. And I just love that that's how God brings us all together, regardless of our experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. So good. So good.
That's
I do publish a blog on my website, and I'm excited to share that with people also, because I feel like that provides a little bit more of a current flavor. right? So in a book, what you write is sort of a snapshot that's going to be printed and then that's out and then you're done adding to it. But with a blog, you have an opportunity to kind of share from your heart on a more regular basis. So
Yeah,
I encourage people to comment on there also. And, let's have a conversation. Let's see what we can accomplish here. Where can we go?
absolutely. Yeah, it's the world is fluid right now. Right? In a huge way. The
Very
world is
fluid.
very fluid. And so, yeah, I love that because you can process out as things are happening in our world and in your life. And we'll be cross posting on our website, abortionsurvivors.org, for people to see your blog there too. And, I know that we are really just starting in terms of getting to know you and having you involved as part of the community of survivors. And so I know that more blog posts and conversations and presentations and all of those things are going to be coming from you that we get to highlight too. It'll be
Yeah,
great.
I'm excited to take this journey with you. It's excited to start to get to know you and the other survivors and just start to see, wow, what can we do? So, yes, that's who we are. We are abortion survivors. We do exist. We do need to do everything we can to, yes, stop abortion, but I feel like there's so much more that we can also do. And I'm just excited.
Yeah, there's more to us than that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, when I end my podcast, I always have one burning question.
What's your burning question?
Okay, you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Here's my burning question. What would you say to people in our world who say that abortion is empowering?
I would say it's hard to be empowered if you're not alive.
Amen.
There's no power in death.
Yeah, pretty simple, isn't it?
It is. It is. I've never counseled a post-abortive woman or man. I've counseled a lot of post-abortive men also, who has ultimately felt empowered by the decision they made to end the life of their child.
Mm-hmm. So glad you included that too. Yeah, it's not just for us as survivors, right? That we've seen the disempowerment that abortion really is. It's how it disempowers men and women and ultimately our families and our culture.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today. And again, everybody, if you want to check out Robin's ministries, it's robinsertell.com.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
robinsertell.com. Check out Miracles in the Wilderness on Amazon. You will enjoy it. I enjoyed it. And certainly shoot Robin a message if you are interested in knowing more about her and what she's doing. Invite her for a conference or anything you have going on. You won't regret it.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thanks for having me today.
Take that glitchiness, right? No, really. I hope that not any glitches made it through that interview, and if there were any, that they were minor and that you stuck it out and you were able to hear Robin's incredible story. And like I said in the introduction, I just cannot wait to get to know Robin more, and I can't wait for you all to get to know her more. We'll be doing more podcasts. You'll be seeing some graphics coming out soon that feature more of Robin's great wisdom. And yeah, I'm just excited for what the future holds for Robin as she grows in terms of sharing her story and really how we grow at the Abortion Survivors Network. The fact that we are now having survivors contact us who believed that they were alone for so long tells me that we're making an impact, right? We're starting to reach those who otherwise have not been reached. And so this is just the beginning, you guys, as we head into kind of some uncertain months, right, around the world with the pandemic and certainly election results here in the United States. I know that a lot of people maybe are feeling discouraged, but I could tell you that I am encouraged because I get to see these incredible things happening every single day. Survivors being reached, families finding support, survivors finding healing, being equipped and finding a voice. Take hope in that, friends. No matter what you are going through, there's always another day where you will see good, right? In the midst of what feels so difficult. Thanks for joining me this week. Thanks for joining me this week on Life Empowers. I hope you found our time together to be life-affirming, hope-building, encouraging, informative. And remember, the next time someone states that abortion is empowering, you know better. Life empowers. See you again next week.